Attention! Attention! This is not a test. Your radio station has been taken over by... Not a test. Your radio station has been taken over by DJ JC of Super Cool Radio. Please remain calm and enjoy the show.
What's up, minions? Welcome back to another edition of the Brootal Blöck. I am your host, DJ JC on the ones and twos, and you are tuned in to Super Cool Radio. As always, we're bringing you an hour of awesome metal music, and this episode, we have a great interview for you guys. I am introducing you guys one of my favorite bands, a band that's been on Basic Ass Dudes, it's been on every podcast I Love Is Dead. I give you Disconnected Souls. So before we get started on the questions and getting the show rolling, I want to give you guys the opportunity to introduce yourselves and what you do in the band.
This is always a good question, and it's more difficult than it probably should be because we all do a mixture of everything. We don't really have like a traditional lineup because we focus more as kind of a studio type kind of project and really work on the composing first and foremost. Yeah, we all just kind of dive in and do a bit of everything. I'm Fletch, and I guess traditionally I come from playing keyboard.
So you do most of the keyboard work on the album, or is it like on the albums, or?
Yeah, so I think for the EP, most of the recorded keyboard was mine. Now, because we tend to do a lot of kind of composing digitally, it's all of us. We all just dig in. People take it in turns to noodle out a part, and whichever part sounds best works and goes in the song. It's a more kind of collaborative approach now.
So I'm Holly. Like you said, yeah, we all do bits of everything. I'm traditionally more guitars based, but yeah, I do a little bit of keys. I was roped into singing by Fletch about a couple of months after I joined the band, so that's how that happened. And yeah, just lots of synth noodling and virtual composing and all that good stuff.
I'm Felix. I was a general nuisance to the band before I joined it for quite a while, so they've been tolerating me for a bit. I started out doing like bits of composing stuff, and now I've been doing some songwriting, like lyrics stuff for people, and I'm starting doing a little bit of vocals as well.
Cool. So were you kind of like a fan before getting pulled into Disconnected Souls?
I've known these guys for a really long time, so I would be at the band practice and stuff, but because of the place I was in life at the time, I kind of wasn't really available to get super involved with music things, so I was just kind of looking about. But yeah, for a while beforehand, I was kind of an unofficial collaborator person. There's a bit of my kalimba in one of the tracks.
That's very true.
But yeah, that's where I first appeared, technically.
So you heard it here first. If you're hanging around with the band, and if you're in another band and you want to be in the band, just bring something to the table. You might be able to get in.
That is basically happening. I think the next person who's going to get roped in is our friend Effie in Australia. Yeah, basically they can't come to the UK ever because they will just get kind of engulfed into the project and not be able to leave again.
I mean, it's not a bad thing, right?
Yeah.
Started virgins, I was guided by mischievous spirit, and now I think I've reached my limit. Oh, breaker, I am your heart, I shattered, threw away the pieces and left them scattered. Everything between us is nothing but hate. I can't believe I couldn't see us deviate. Maybe someday our war will cease. Maybe then we'll find a little bit of peace. Something there that you couldn't see. Just how much you entering, we are entwined, frozen in time. Fire consuming the ice. I still sing the flame. We are entwined, frozen in time. Fire consuming the ice. I still sing the flame. I'm surrounded by your flames. Can't you hear me scream your name? Say the wind, carry these sentences. We will recall all your endless winter. Fuck. Maybe one day a war will see. Warring elements. Maybe one day a war will see. Warring elements. Maybe one day a war will see. Warring elements. Maybe one day a war will see. Warring elements. We have been torn asunder. I'm surrounded by your flames. Scream your name. Remember what I said to you. I was reaching out to you. See the wind carry these cinders. I was reaching out to you. I was reaching out to you.
How did you guys come up with the name Disconnected Souls? Metal bands always have like these really awesome, crazy, out of the box thinking type bands. I know in the first band that I was ever in, we used magic cards to try to figure out our band name. Of course, we didn't use any, but we tried to figure out that way. So how did you guys come up with Disconnected Souls?
You know what really sucks? I actually cannot remember. And as you say, most bands usually have a really good story. Like, I mean, I was in a band called Pig in a Blender for a time, and yeah, we had a good story about that name. But yeah, I think it was just, I mean, so originally Disconnected Souls was kind of like going to be a solo like project to do some music that I wasn't kind of putting forward for one of my other bands that I was in. And I think I was just kind of focusing on, yes, like humans, we're a weird kind of disconnected bunch, and somehow, yes, the words disconnected and souls like got joined together. And I remember like telling one of our friends about it, and her response was, "Oh, that's so emo." I was like, it doesn't sound emo to me. Like, I don't know, not at least with my kind of understanding of emo bands and the like, of which several are very good. No, I thought it seemed more kind of deeper and kind of spiritual, I guess, if anything. Yeah, like, and now it's kind of, I guess, come to represent this feeling of, yes, contrasting ideas in the music, people are living different lives, but we're all ultimately human, we've all got a soul, and let's try and look at what we've got in common and break down some barriers.
Awesome.
Deep philosophical ramble over.
Yeah, it's a lot deeper than I would have thought it was, man. I like that. The cool thing about it, though, and hopefully this will help, when I heard Disconnected Souls at first, before I even heard the music, I didn't think emo. I actually automatically was like, this band has to have keys in it.
Yeah.
When I heard that, I was like, this is a band that has keys.
Yeah, I don't think you can use those words without keys. You're missing half of the emotion and the mood.
So, Holly and Felix, how do you guys feel about the name Disconnected Souls, with you guys being in the band and everything? Did you guys know the meaning of it before getting into the band, or did y'all just kind of make up y'all's own mind of the band name?
I mean, I like it for the reasons that Fletch just talked about, to be honest. I think he surmised it pretty well there. Yeah, I'm pretty big on. I went through a big part of my life where I really struggled with connection with other people. I was pretty isolated and whatnot, and it's really good being in a band with people that I care so much about, because that I think that connection is really great, and it's a nice sort of representation of what it means to us as a group of people who've kind of come together from very different circumstances. So yeah, I like it on that front.
Holly?
Yeah, I think when I joined, I was just kind of like, oh, good, there's already a band name. I don't have to think about it. That was kind of my reaction.
That's pragmatic. I like it.
I just all of the arguments from like high school bands when you're trying to pick a name. I was thinking, oh, good, it's sorted. Brilliant. Yeah, no, I like it. And I remember thinking, I don't know what it is about it, but there was just something that was different. And I kind of thought, okay, this should hopefully make us stand out, and hopefully stand out in a good way. But yeah, and all the spiritual meaning and everything behind it, I think suits us all pretty well, really. So.
I think it doesn't give too much away in terms of what genre it is, which is something we like doing in general anyway.
Probably better with us.
Yeah. I don't want to lead anyone anywhere in particular.
That's good. And it leaves you open to experiment and grow as a band, which is always good.
Absolutely.
I do love when bands do experiment. I do like that. Now, do some bands kind of go in areas I'm not a fan of? Sure, but I do like bands that tend to think outside of the box and push that envelope and go, let's be better than we were last album. Let's keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if we ever kind of stop like challenging and developing ourselves, we should probably pack it in.
You're listening to the Brootal Blöck on Super Cool Radio with your host DJ JC. Your soul is mine.
The whole writing style, you were saying that you guys all kind of contribute equally to the band as far as different ideas and stuff, which is awesome. I've never, myself personally, have never been a part of that, so that is super intriguing to me. I've always kind of been the main writer in pretty much every band that I've been in. So do you guys mind speaking a little bit about the writing method, as far as like what inspires you guys to write? Do you guys randomly have ideas that come to you? And then how do you get those? Let's say you're in the grocery store. How do you go about doing that? I always have a recorder and a notepad on my phone. So if I get a riff idea, I'm the dummy in the aisle going dun, 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 dun. Or if I have a lyric, I'll write it down on my notepad. So how do you guys get inspired to write? Where does it hit you guys more frequently? Or do you guys have an actual space that you sit down and you say, I'm going to write right now, and you just come up with ideas right then and there? What's that writing process like?
We're super diverse on that, I think. We were having a chat about this the other week, how everybody sort of goes about it in a very different way. We were comparing like Patrick and Tim's approach to doing stuff, and it's very drastically different. And what we tend to do is we'll go away, we'll kind of do our own thing, and then we'll do like our practice. We tend to do on like Saturdays. We'll gather, and we'll kind of bring all of our ideas together then. If we've got anything, like when I'm doing songwriting, like I'll tend to go lyrics first. I tend to be very narratively minded when it comes to that sort of thing. I do like writing, and I'm an illustrator as well as a hobby and things. So I'll tend to come at it like concept first, in terms of like the narrative that's going to be behind the song. And I'm a disaster. Today I was driving back in the car, getting home, and I was singing to myself, and I came up with something. But the problem is, if you tend to let your mind wander in the car and you come up with a song, you can't write that down. You're driving. Mm-hmm. So I'm then desperately trying to sing this song to myself over and over. I've got this verse, and I'm like going over and over it in my head, like until I can park when I get home and write it down really quickly on my phone. But then you're thinking, ooh, I'd add on to the end of that, I've got a bit of chorus as well, and it's getting longer. And I'm going to remember it. It's quite anxiety inducing, but it's nice to have like just a burst of inspiration like that really come to you.
So when you're writing the lyrics, do you already have kind of an idea of how the melody should be? So you bring that to the table, or is it kind of just like, here's some lyrics, you guys have fun writing guitar parts to it?
It's a bit of both. So I'll tend to have like a vague tempo, a vague beat in mind roughly for maybe part of it. So like I'll have a verse and I'll be kind of thinking I want it to go a bit like this. And then I'll write the lyrics out with that in mind. And then we're doing one at the moment. I'd written it as a folk song for myself. And I turned up with it, and I basically said, you guys can have this, butcher it. We can rearrange the parts as long as the concept stays generally the same. And I'd like to use these lyrics. We can do whatever. We can fit it around with whatever. And it's turned out something completely different in the works so far. It's definitely not a folk song anymore, which I'm perfectly happy with.
Nice. And Holly, how do you go about your writing?
Yeah, I'm quite different, I think, for the others, because if I'm sort of sitting down and working on an idea that I've had come to me, I will maybe sit at a keyboard and just sort of figure out roughly where the notes are. And then I just open up Guitar Pro and go full music theory mode and start, orchestral instruments, guitars. I'll put really basic drums in because I'm not the best at drums, but just like a placeholder. And then export the MIDI and then do like a rough vocal thing over the top. And that's kind of my demo. And then I send it to these guys and kind of like, right, let's build on it.
Guitar Pro, I love that. That's literally how I wrote the majority of my songs when I was 16, 17 years old. And I'm so mad because I haven't downloaded it yet for my my Mac. I use Guitar Pro 5, and I tried downloading Guitar Pro 7, and I was completely confused on how it worked. So I'm trying to find an old file of Guitar Pro 5 to put on my new computer. That's awesome you brought that up, because that's a great tool to use to write music for sure, especially if you're by yourself. Yeah,
and I think I'm very visual, I think. So it's like if I'm purely trying to rely on the audio and singing it to myself, I will lose things. So I just find it helpful that I can actually write it out and it's there. It's good.
And Fletcher, how do you go about writing for Disconnected Souls?
Yeah, that's a good question. First, though, you don't need to worry about Guitar Pro 7 anymore because Guitar Pro 8 is out as of the other day.
So, oh, wow, really?
Yeah.
I have to look and see if it's easier.
Got a notification about that.
Yeah, I was having a hard time with trying to figure out how the drums worked. Maybe I was just my old brain is just not working like it used to.
Yeah, it's funny because my bandmate in Curse of Dawn, Johnny, he does everything in Guitar Pro, and I kind of came from that background of doing things. Well, it was usually we'd write together at Prac and then he'd tab it all out. So I've never really bothered learning Guitar Pro, apart from just the odd thing. So the way I tend to do it is I tend to be very kind of focused on big dramatic chord sequences, and also doing lots of layering. So I'll kind of pick a synth, put something down that sounds big, then pick another big instrument and just stack layers and layers and get this kind of really vast sound. Which is why it always really impresses me when you have bands with like few members and not too many parts going on in it, and it sounds huge, because I'm just like, I can't do that without layering masses of stuff. But I think it's interesting because, and Felix was talking about the difference between Patrick and Tim's approaches. So because we use now a lot of kind of virtual instruments and synthesizers and stuff, Patrick tends to focus very much on finding a big, cool, like synth sound that's like, I don't know, like a big 80s synthesizer or something that sounds really cool, because that's what kind of inspires his process. I mean, he's into a lot of the really electronic-y metal bands. And so for context, he doesn't know really any music theory apart from just kind of like doing stuff with us. He'll know sometimes now which like notes will work better together. But it's nice because it means that he can just dive in without that theory, and it again just proves that point of, yeah, music theory is not a barrier to doing successful things in bands. But then Tim, on the other hand, is his whole approach is basically play it on a piano, and if it sounds good on a piano, then it's going to sound amazing, like with whatever else you do with it. So he really focuses on, let's get some chords and like a little kind of melody that just work so intricately together. So he really kind of focused on that simplicity. But it's quite funny because, like, if Patrick's there, for instance, that's the exact opposite. So we've then got to try and find some intermediate ways of doing it, I guess, where we still focus on the simplicity, but we still add some big synths in, so that Patrick's inspired too.
Yeah, that's always fun too, because there was one of the conversations me and a buddy were having about, for us, like trying to write something simple, as simple and catchy is still really actually hard. So like, when you hear a band that has played something really simple but it's catchy, it's like it's actually really hard to do. If you listen to complicated music and really technical stuff, after a while you kind of just it becomes a norm. So it's a little easier to write complex stuff, but simple stuff, I still struggle with that. Trying to just come up with a simple melody that's super catchy.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And I think one of the things, and this, we were at a festival a few years ago, and we were walking back in the evening after it, and we were just kind of agreeing that really what is our kind of main aim. It's to produce music that's kind of both catchy in a pop sense, so it's accessible, but also has the kind of interesting like proggy ideas too, and it's just getting that balance between the two ideas, which are kind of contrasting, because too proggy and it's I mean, I like prog, but even I can't listen to prog for that long. And pop at the same time is good, but I think the problem is if you go too far that way, you're not going to sound very unique. So that's something we really try and focus on, getting the balance between, I think, with the songs now.
And I think you guys have really shaped that balance. You can definitely hear it in y'all's music. There's a nice balance there. It's not too far this way, not too far the other way. So
that's very kind of you to say. We appreciate that. Hopefully you'll feel the same way with some of the newer ones.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it.
You are listening to Super Cool Radio with DJ JC. We'll be back after this brief message.
Why, hello there. I'm about to make a prediction. And that prediction is, you like podcasts. If that's true, then make your way over to the Cognitive Discourse, where we have monologues, short stories, and open discussions. and every now and then I get a little ranty. If this sounds like something you're interested in, then go check us out. We're streaming on all major platforms, and hell, we're even on YouTube. New episodes out every Friday. I hope to see you there.
The industry's evolved over time, and so being a in-home studio band is something that has become more common nowadays, and it looks like you guys are taking full control of that. But has your opinion changed at all over time? Record labels are no longer as important as they used to be. Now you can be an independent artist and be just as successful. So what is y'all's views on the evolution of the industry, and what are you guys doing to kind of lead the charge in what is new as far as technology is concerned?
That's a good question. I think, I'll focus on the technology side of things because I guess that's where my interest majorly lies. The things are very different from, say, the 80s, where we didn't have computers that could do kind of music production. As in, it was band practice was you meet up, you jam over some riffs, maybe someone writes them down, and you keep building it up that way. And it has a very kind of standard flow, I guess, to it. Whereas I don't think we have ever gotten into a room and like jammed out one of our own songs. We record something, then we layer something else, and we're kind of constantly changing. I mean, we are talking about kind of actually like doing a kind of live lineup and playing some of these tracks live. But the entire kind of focus for us is how can we write the best music possible, and how does the technology enable that? So a lot of my time has been kind of spent looking at technology, and I've now got like a nice little rack of servers on my desk that I'm looking at that run all our instruments, and little virtual network and all sorts of backup stuff. So my day job is technology. I work for an IT company, so I love that. I get like a double whammy of excitement out of all this stuff. But I think, I mean, this is the thing. We're kind of, our mentality is we are always recording. And I think what this does mean, I think one of the benefits for us is we get more time in practice. Because again, I think with a lot of bands, especially if you're playing live, more of that time and that focus goes on to practicing for a live show versus working on kind of compositional craft. Whereas we're the kind of opposite way around. And I'm not going to proclaim we're amazing at it, but I think that because we get more time to practice it, it means that we're able to hopefully write better songs and more diverse songs and that going forward. The technology is really there just to kind of enable that to happen with masses of synthesizer libraries and orchestral libraries and stuff. Because again, that's something in the old days, if you wanted an orchestra on your track, you had to go out and pay for an orchestra. And no one got the budget for that these days. Whereas you can now buy affordable libraries that are kind of the best players in the world. And it's incredible what you can now do because of that.
And I really like the fact that, with labels not being as important too, kind of going off your point with the being able to really write what you want to write, take the time to write what you want to write. There's no more like of this, we're going to write a couple singles and then the rest of the album's going to be filler. A lot of bands from back in the day, their first album was always the greatest because they had all the time in the world to create that album. And then once they were on a label, they had to pump out stuff. So I definitely like that, being able to pull back and being able to write what you want to write, take your time and put out a really great product.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we've ever rolled out a label kind of for definite. But what I would say is we're certainly not jumping up and down looking for one.
I think they'd have to accommodate us, definitely.
Yes, exactly.
It's nice to be in a situation where you don't have to be marketable to exist, because it allows new markets to be found. You don't have to start with something proven just to get out there at all and start producing anything to begin with, which is it's really nice. I think that definitely brings a lot more diversity in music as a field, really, which is is awesome. That it's become more accessible is probably my favorite thing about sort of the changing face of technology and music, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Holly, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of amazing how far we've got in. I mean, it's been, I don't know, it's been 2 years, isn't it? Is it 2 years since the EP? Oh my goodness, that's gone quick. Anyway,
yeah,
but it's kind of like, you know, I mean, we do most of like all our Bandcamp merch and stuff is like we do it ourselves. We do all the, you know, the fiddly behind the scenes stuff, all the social media, etc. And that part of it is quite hard. And so in some respects, I think, okay, if we could get on a label and distribution is sorted, someone else does that, that would be great. And just sort of like, you know, sort worldwide shipping and all the really boring admin-y stuff that I don't want to have to do.
Yep.
But that would be nice. But at the same time, I think it's quite amazing how far we have got on our own already.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, you know, I mean, we're not, you know, we certainly don't have that many streams on Spotify and stuff like that, but it's kind of, we have sold far more CDs than I thought we would. And like loads of them have gone like, you know, to the US or all the way around Europe and Australia and stuff. And we've had some in Asia, and it's like, I never expected this.
So by the way, for people that are listening, if you order a CD from them, they send it with so much love. I got mine in. I got a little note with it, and I got it signed, and it's awesome. So definitely, if you're looking for a new band to put some money into, put it into Disconnected Souls, because they take care of you.
Yeah, I tried to carefully package everything so it gets better.
So this is a question that has become a common question as of late that I hear in a lot of other interviews. And so I'm going to go ahead and jump on that train as well and ask this question too. But with the past couple of years, we've had COVID that we've had to deal with, and it's been hard on everybody as far as shutting everything down. And now in 2022, I don't know how it affects you guys in the UK, but I know here in the US, gas prices are going through the roof. So how has that type of stuff affected you guys, whether it even be just getting together for rehearsals or trying to play any gigs, if you guys do play any gigs during that time? How did that affect y'all?
God, I didn't even see a gig for a couple of years, to be honest. I didn't go out at all. I feel like we had a lot of trouble doing any music stuff, really. I mean, I mostly joined the bands proper after a lot of the COVID stuff had gone on, but even now, particularly you mentioned the gas prices and things. So I'm currently living in a city over to where we usually do our band practice stuff. And driving backwards and forwards has been costing me an increasing amount of money. And it's like an extra concern you wouldn't be having to think about in terms of like planning, getting together and things. I mean, you make it work and whatnot, but it's not ideal, definitely. It seems to seep its way into every aspect of life, unfortunately, a little bit.
Holly?
Yeah, I think the main thing we had was just sort of meeting up in person. I mean, I guess we're quite fortunate in some respects. Fletch has got sort of his main home studio. I bought myself a better quality mic and stuff, so I can do my little bits. Patrick's now got a mic, so he can do stuff at his house. So we kind of, I guess, made it work. One thing it did do is it pushed back music video plans that we had. And it's one of those things I was getting really, really frustrated about it because I want us to do a music video. That's something we're lacking at the minute. But actually, I'm kind of glad it pushed back because the song is now so much better than it would have been if we'd released it like a year and a half ago or whatever. And the music video is hopefully going to be even better and bigger than we originally planned. So I think it's actually been a benefit in disguise, even though it was annoying at the time.
So it's nice. Things worked out.
Hopefully, yeah.
Fletcher, how have you seen it affect you?
So I think further to Holly's point, I mean, for one, we were actually going to do the music video for an entirely different song. So this music video may have never seen the light of day at all. So, yeah, I think this has definitely worked out from that perspective in terms of the scope of what we're now going to be doing in that video, without saying any more because I'll get killed.
Exciting. So, I'm excited about it.
Yes, it's going to be fun.
So do you guys have a date planned for that music video for people listening to hopefully kind of put it on their calendars and wait for?
You're going to hate me. 6 months. That one. I'm so sorry. Yeah. We're hopefully having a lyric video coming out for our next single. So that will hopefully be out in early August with that. But yeah, this special one, I'm sorry, you'll have a wait. But I hope it will be worth it. It'll be worth it.
Oh, y'all are building it up now, so that's awesome.
Yeah. I think going back to your question about the kind of impact of things, I mean, I guess I've been slightly fortunate in that I'm in my room where I've been for like the entirety of COVID, and all my musical stuff is all around me. But I think what I learned over COVID is how much, even though I do have kind of my own ideas, I think I work best when I'm collaborating with other people. So I can throw an idea out, someone can go, ooh, what if we then do that with it? And it's that kind of back and forth that makes me very happy. And I think that's when I kind of function the best, I guess. So haven't had that. I think the other thing that was more fundamental for us is towards the start of COVID was when we really started kind of pushing the boundaries of like technology. So we used to use a very, very old laptop, and I ended up like upgrading that to a nice new one. And then we got to the point where we were even kind of exceeding the capabilities of that, just with the amount of instruments being added. So then I was like, right, okay, what can I do about this? Then I learned about some kind of software for offloading like instruments. So then I bought a little server, then I bought another one. Then I bought another one, and now there are 4 servers on my desk. And I think in total, the let me try and remember. I think if you add them all up, it's now about 24 cores, 128 gig of memory, and about 15 terabytes of storage, like split across everything. So, and even now we do push like to the limit. So, but it's funny because originally I was like looking at buying like a super like $5-6 grand computer to do everything, and then I just found this kind of workaround to do it using like secondhand equipment and stuff, and did it for like 1/10 of the price. So I was like, again, this is great.
That's awesome.
So I think a lot of the COVID time was kind of working out the technology and ironing out all the bugs, which meant that we kind of, when we've now started meeting up again, we've been able to leap straight back into doing stuff. And I mean, we can write quite quickly. I mean, myself, Felix, and Patrick met up yesterday, and we were able to do about a minute of a song in a few hours, which was quite good.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just means it's a lot easier to just bounce the ideas quickly. And again, then we use things like Discord to just share our ideas in the week and the updates and everything.
I think there's a lot to be said for the multitude of skills that we've got. Like, even things that aren't necessarily directly music related, Fletch's stuff with computing, it's been a massive boon. And I think fundamentally we wouldn't be able to do what we do without Fletch's IT skills as well. And it's something to be said for collaboration, basically.
Feels like fire.
outside of music, what are y'all's hobbies? Do you guys are y'all into, like me? I'm really into nerdy stuff. I like playing Magic the Gathering. I love Pokemon. I'm trying to get a D&D group together. So
D&D,
what do you guys like to do outside of music?
D&D is the main one. So yes, we're all in a long-running campaign. But Felix is in like 2 or 3 D&D campaigns. Felix is
Or at the moment, one intermittent 4 D&D games.
Oh wow!
and I have the energy for it. Yeah, no. So all of us in the band are in the same D&D campaign, which is lovely. I mean, we spend a lot of time together outside of prac, which is important to us. And I know there's some bands where, the members kind of meet up, then they go off and they're not really kind of pals. That is certainly something that wouldn't work for us.
So y'all have a very family-oriented type of setup with this band.
Definitely, absolutely. I feel like Fletch is basically... Poor Fletch is basically my parents sometimes, I think, and deal with me, but God knows how many years. We have known each other for more years than I really want to think about at the moment, because I'll feel very, very old. But I think being that comfortable with each other is great, considering we do D&D together, and we go out places. We went to an art museum, a couple of us the other week. Oh, gosh, yes. More than a week ago now. Time flies. But it's really good to kind of know each other on that level, because then when it comes to practice, when it comes to making music, I think you have a better feel for what other people are going to enjoy, and when it comes to kind of like conflicts and things like that, you're more comfortable to resolve them without kind of like tiptoeing or getting too stressed out with each other, because you know where the boundaries are and all that. You've already got that baseline of communication and understanding of each other's tastes. Particularly with us doing like the fancy stuff with D&D and things, I think that definitely helps us have some songwriting inspiration, being into the same media and things.
Yeah, y'all can definitely like write songs based around y'all's campaigns for sure.
Absolutely.
Holly, do you have any hobbies outside of music and D&D, of course?
Oh yeah, definitely the D&D. You know what? I do a lot of cross stitch, a lot of embroidery. That's kind of my thing.
Nice.
You're listening to Brootal Blöck on Super Cool Radio with DJ JC. Let's get brutal.
Cold chills when there's no breeze. Sounds you can't explain. Foreboding feelings of dread. Sheer horror. This is Haunting Abaddon, an original podcast from Epilid Media featuring stories of the paranormal, demonic possessions, poltergeists and hauntings, and all things that will scare the hell out of you. These things do more than go bump in the night.
Now, with hobbies, one of my hobbies is cooking. I know that doesn't sound like a hobby, but I've really gotten into cooking lately, and I really enjoy doing that. So for my next question, when you guys get together, and y'all, of course, do your D&D stuff, and you guys are playing practice, and eventually, when y'all go on the road, who is the designated cook? Who's the guy or girl who comes up with feeding the band, if anyone? And who's the talented cook in the group?
It's not going to be me, and I don't think it's going to be Patrick. He's probably higher than us, and it's probably one of you two.
No, slim chance. You want to be like destroyed by garlic, because the only things I can cook is like just things with so much garlic. I can barbecue meat, even though I don't really eat it myself much anymore. So we just order.
Like lots of flavor.
Yeah. As a Texas boy, I'm okay with the barbecue.
Yeah, I mean, for things like D&D, and when we meet up, it usually is order takeaway, order more takeaway.
Recently had a university where your favourite Italian closed down, didn't it, Fletch? It's not there anymore.
We don't talk about my favourite Italian closing down. Still in denial about that.
face I see, that little look in your eye when you lie to me. All our love was a place of animosity. Could we ever go back to what we used to be? Do you remember what I said when you walked away? When you look back in fondness on our yesterdays, was it all an act, just a role that you portrayed? Well, I guess you never even cared anyway. I let you lead me astray. Never will I find my way. Home is lost. Home is lost. Your light is blinding. I could not say. I could not say. Darkness. Can you see them circle the vultures await your end? Can you feel it worsen this life you have ruined? Can you see them circle the vultures await your end? Can you feel it worsen this life you have ruined? Don't you know when we sit face to face I see that little look in your eye when you lie to me? All our love was a place of animosity. Could we ever go back to what we used to be? Do you remember what I said when you walked away? Will you look back in fondness on our yesterdays? Was it all an act, just a role that you portrayed? Well, I guess you never even cared anyway. Don't you know when we sit face to face I see that little look in your eye when you lie to me? All our love was a place of animosity. Could we ever go back to what we used to be? Do you remember what I said when you walked away? Will you look back in fondness on our yesterdays? Was it all an act, just a role that you portrayed? Well, I guess you never even cared anyway.
So we're at the point of the show where we like to do what the show was created for, which is promoting bands that people more than likely wouldn't have heard if it's not a mainstream band. So I want to give you guys the opportunity to each pick a band that you think is super underrated or that you are inspired by. And we'll start with Fletch first.
I am going to pick The Effigy, which is Effie Gold, our good and talented friend in Australia.
Nice.
Yes.
So, yes. I mean, it's so one of the things that's really nice for me is Effie and I have like a really kind of good collaborative kind of musical relationship anyway, so we're quite often bouncing ideas back and forth. So I've kind of heard a lot of the songs that haven't been released yet, and my goodness, like some of the best music ever. Effie is going places, so I'm going to pick Effie. Very, very talented.
Holly?
And there's loads of people I could choose. I'm gonna go with Witnesses, who is a New York-based project by a guy called Greg, and it's just cinematic, atmospheric amazingness. He's very underrated, I think.
Greg's great.
Yeah, he's an awesome guy, and he collaborates with lots of really cool musicians around the world as well. So you get like a really nice mix through with his music. So yeah, that's Witnesses is my one.
Nice. Blix?
It's not going to be a metal suggestion, but somebody whose opinion I value far more than mine introduced me to the short discography of Lotus Child recently, and I've been thinking about nothing but that for months. Basically, it's definitely provided a lot of inspiration. Not metal, but I definitely recommend checking that out. They're not around anymore as a band. They've got a new one now that's the Zolas, but the Lotus Child stuff is really cool.
Awesome. Yeah, I love bands that are not metal. I think, especially being a musician yourself, being able to listen to other genres and be able to pull inspiration from those is very important.
Irrational fears are controlling my life. My mind is a cage, concealing these shades. These phantoms unyielding, unending the soul. I feel this connection. My mind is afflicted. Despite you, I'll vanquish these demons inside. Every step that I take leads another mistake. Reminds me I'm human, overcoming these flaws. Stand back and see, we're fighting an endless war. 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 I will take the light. I will take the light. You wanna hear? You wanna save me? You wanna
I have one more question and then we're going to play a game. So you guys still make physical copies as we talked about earlier. And I'm one of the lucky owners of a Disconnected Soul CD. How do you guys feel about, again, this kind of goes into that evolution of the industry. Now, physical copies aren't such a huge thing anymore. Everything's kind of going digital. I prefer physical copies, but with the physical copies kind of not being a huge thing now, full albums are kind of not really a thing. People's attention span, I think, has gotten a lot shorter, and now singles are kind of more a popular thing. How do you guys feel about that? And do you think that concept albums are going to become a lost art if we keep going in the trajectory that we're going?
Oh, I hope not.
Yeah. So something we are ourselves looking at doing is kind of combining the best of both worlds. So we're planning on releasing, I think, most of our new songs as singles, but then we're planning on kind of doing alternate versions of them that are kind of packaged together into, and I'm going to be careful not to say too much and spoil some surprises again, into a kind of larger piece of cohesive work that has maybe some interlude tracks and kind of ties together a whole story. And there may be a story that we have in mind with all sorts of interesting characters and creatures.
Nice.
So what we hope is that the tracks will sound good as standalone tracks, but also be able to be kind of combined together because it appeals to a different audience. Some people like to listen to just singles, whereas you've still got people who like to sit and listen to entire things from start to finish. And I think you'll get something different out of our music listening to either or both.
That makes me excited to hear, because I am on that where I'm like kind of sad. I hope concept albums don't go away. I like to sometimes turn off the lights and take that musical journey and just go with it. So it's nice to know that there are bands out there still wanting to pursue that and really use music as that art form and create those musical images, if you will.
We've got a plan to not just do kind of one concept album, but about 5 or 6 or 7. We've basically got enough ideas, I think, to last for the duration of the band. And I've even got a plan of how we end the band when it eventually ends. So
oh man, you got a whole story arc for you guys. That's awesome. So I mean, how do you guys feel about that, Holly and Felix? I mean, Fletcher seems like he's got a whole, whole thing figured out. It definitely takes the stress off of you guys, I think. As far as kind of just riding that wave with them. How do y'all feel about that?
I mean, for one thing, I keep thinking I should probably write this story down before we forget it. That should be the first thing. I can't see concept albums going completely, because I think there will always be musicians like us who want to make them, and there'll always be people who want to listen to them still. And I find it interesting, like, we've made pretty much all of any money off CDs. That's where most of our support has come from. So I don't know if it's maybe like an underground thing. A lot of people seem to be more interested in buying physical stuff if you're underground, and the support you get with it. We definitely seem to be more physical based, and everyone's still buying vinyls as well. We haven't done vinyl just because it's so expensive, and I don't think we've got the demand. But it's like, if we ever get there, I would certainly consider it. So,
with y'all's artwork, I think it would look really great as a vinyl cover.
I definitely think there is an appeal to having physical copies of things. I don't know if it's everybody, but there's just something about holding it in your hands and seeing it on a shelf. You've got all the artwork. I love pulling out a CD and looking at the artwork on it. And I think it is a bit of a shame. I don't want to be all like, oh, record shops are going away, but there is something about going in somewhere and flipping through the covers and seeing something that catches your eye. And scrolling down Spotify or whatever, it's nice, but it's just not the same experience. But in terms of concept albums, my friends have said it way better than I could have ever said it.
Search for something, stop at nothing. I see clear, there's pain in your eyes. Fight your demons, the non-believers. Close the door and cast them out. I have heard from the stars that bore me, casting light from celestial entities. Seek the path of the righteous dreamer. Tranquil thoughts unbound by science. Breathing deep till you find perfection. A spark of life in the garden of my soul. These fears surpassed by bronze. blessed rebirth, so transcendental. Temptation I fall, time is washing on. Never could replace this, never will erase this song to set my soul. My mind now running, scared to face a curse I'll run. To manage grace, Lord, now these sins I will endure. Face this life forevermore.
We're going to play a game now, and you guys can do this one or two ways. You guys each can answer it for yourselves, or y'all can do it as a collective band. The choice is yours, but you guys have heard of the game called Fuck, Marry, Kill, correct?
Okay.
It's something kind of like that, but we're going to do the Brootal Blöck way, and instead of doing it that way, we're going to do a game called Collab, Tour, and Replace. So the way this works is I'm going to give you 3 bands, and you have to choose one of those bands that you would want to collab with, whether it be a member from that band on y'all's the Disconnected Souls music, or you're on an album with them, or you guys just do, an album together outside of that realm. A band that you want to tour with, and then a band that you ultimately would replace, meaning you would take all their fame, all their fans, all their fortune, everything. They would no longer exist, and you guys would take their place. So the 3 bands are going to be Epica, Opeth, and Ginger.
Ooh. I'm scribbling notes.
So we'll give you some time then, and we'll let Felix lead the charge here. You have to collab with one, tour with one, and replace one. They are Epica, Opeth, and Ginger.
Oh my goodness. I would like to collab with Epica. I think they could bring something interesting to our music. Tour with Opeth, I think that would be fun. And honestly, I don't know that much about Ginger. I'm showing my lack of culture here, definitely. So I can't say so much for them. But I would love to collab with Epica. That would be really cool. That would be a dream, huh?
Yeah. So even then, replacing Ginger, they have a pretty solid underground following, so that would be a good choice to replace. So good call.
I feel bad for phasing them out of existence, though. That was I'll have to check them out properly. I'll have to check them out after this.
Holly?
Right. Okay. I'm going to go with collab with Epica, because I want to so bad. I'm going to say tour with Ginger because they look so fun live, and I think like the energy and stuff at their live shows just looks amazing. And then replace Opeth because they've had their time. They've done loads, right?
All right, Fletcher, are you ready, man?
I appreciate the fact you left me till last so I could spend some time jotting some notes, doing a pros and cons detailed list. Okay, so from a collab perspective, I mean, we actually have a kind of internal list of dream people who we want to collab with because we love collabs. So a lot of it is kind of, I guess the way we look at it is people who can bring things that we can't already do. So Tati from Ginger, one of the best kind of vocalists in the scene, I would say. We want some of them harsh vocals on our tracks. That would be sick. So Ginger's going to have to be collab. Now, tour, I'm going to pick Epica on the grounds of Epica have done more than one show with a live orchestra and choir, which means that if Epica are on tour, we can pinch the orchestra and choir for our own purposes to fill out the sound, because that's one of my kind of dream bucket list things to do, play a full show with orchestra, choir, DJ, everything else. Super mega show. And then Opeth is probably the one to replace, because Opeth have obviously gone through quite a few like different kind of genres in their time, but I think they've both had the very proggy stuff and also the very poppy stuff, and I think that kind of mindset is similar to the one which we were talking about earlier about the ideal balance. So I like to think that Opeth fans are open-minded enough that they would tolerate our interesting mismatch of genres.
Tolerate?
That's my theory.
Spaceman came traveling on a ship from afar. 'Twas like years of time since his mission did start, and over a village he halted his craft, and it hung in the sky like a star, just like a star. He followed a light and came down to a shed where mother and child were lying there on a bed. The bright light of silver shone round his head, and he had the face of an angel, and they were afraid.
Then the stranger spoke. He said, "Do not fear. I come from a planet a long way from here, and I bring a message for mankind to hear." And suddenly the sweetest music filled the air, and it went, we sang with you to all.
Well, I want to thank you guys for coming in and doing the interview here on Brootal Blöck. But before we go, I want to give you guys the opportunity to share your socials, any news you guys have you want to share with the fans. If you guys have any tour dates coming up or anything like that, now's the time to let everybody know. Fans, grab a pen and paper, write it down, get ready, because they're going to share the socials with you guys and everything else.
Yeah, on Facebook, we are just Disconnected Souls. Instagram is Disconnected_Souls. And then Twitter, because someone else stole the username, we are DS Band UK. Which I know is annoying, but that's what we are.
Yep.
And yeah, I guess our big news that you might have seen already if you already follow us is we have a new extended single landing on the 5th of August called Kintsakuri, and it's everything, I think. We've gone hard with the electronics and the metal and the orchestral stuff and everything. So I'm very interested to see what everyone thinks when it drops. But yeah, that's our next release. Yay!
Awesome.
I'm very proud of Patrick's contributions on that one particularly. Definitely.
So you guys have any last words before we go?
I will just say thank you very much for your time, and yeah, much love, everyone. Thank you.
As always, guys, thank you for tuning into the Brootal Blöck. Don't forget, we have new episodes coming out every Tuesday at noon. So, and also, any other bands out there that want to join Disconnected Souls and being an interviewed band here on Brootal Blöck, don't forget to reach out to Matthew Thomas at Super Cool Radio and get all that info to him. He will get it to me, and we will get that ball rolling. Also, if you're a metal band or a solo artist and you make music and you want to get it played here on the Brootal Blöck, don't be afraid to hit up Matthew Thomas once again and send him a track. The only thing that I ask is that you do send us something that is of decent quality, because we want to share the best of you. As always, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Tuning in. The show has reached its finale. Regular scheduled programming commence.